what I'd like to do is just dig into some future predictions. So I think one edge our team always has here at Uptick is kind of evolving our strategies based on what we see in the market. What are some of the trends for growth marketing that you guys see emerging right now, either good ones or bad ones? And what do we think that we're moving towards in the future for growth marketing for Web3 games? I'll call out one particular trend I've been watching a lot, which is kind of these social farming platforms. So things like Mon Protocol, Moku, SideQuest. So that's one that I'm watching a lot. And I'm curious, is like a flash in the pan or if this is going to be something sustainable? What are some of the emerging marketing trends and tactics that you guys are keeping an eye on?
That's a really good question. I think in Web3, the speed at which like the meta evolves is just ever changing. So I think for SocialFi at least, it was a very novel concept when it first started. But I think it's actually starting to like die down already as projects, launch their own one week after week. There's like diminishing returns because people are getting kind of like tired of it. I see novel social farming campaigns such as PackMoon, or, when you kind of like reiterate on the concept and just add like your own spin to it, they always seem to perform better when anyone innovates, right? And then as soon as everyone else starts to emulate, that's when you start seeing like those diminishing returns. So I think one of the main takeaways in Web3 is to always try to like innovate on everyone else's success. You don't want to straight up carbon copy what they did because a lot of times it just doesn't work, right?
I think that's a really good point, especially for, a lot of our listener base, including myself, comes from mobile free to play. And that is such a copycat industry, which sounds bad, but I think a lot of mobile's fundamentals are built on plus oneing of like taking a proven model, just tweaking it slightly or a new IP on it. And that's really, in Web3, novelty is really king, as I think you're speaking to, Matt. And like, we really crave novelty and, I haven't seen this before. This is a totally new take on this. So I think that's a really good takeaway. How about specifically like the points farming meta? I mean, that's been a huge theme of 2024. Jerry, do you have any thoughts on like points farming / play to airdrop, which have been like pretty intertwined of like incentivizing actions today for a potential future incentive via a token?
Yeah, I think it will be something that actually kind of diminishes pretty significantly unless there's something more than just the thoughts of like an airdrop potentially coming down the road. I think there's going to need to be like, again, to kind of harp on Pirate Nation again, like they had a game that you could play alongside it, right? It wasn't like go follow a partner, right? It was like just play the game every day, have fun with it, break it, and you'll receive reward for it. So I think for growth in the space, I do think that the points farming thing will start to die down in the next few months, and people are starting to become sick of it. It's doing what happens all the time in Web3. It's starting to become a job, and people don't like when that happens, right? We all have jobs already, and we're all doing things. For like a trend that I see going forward for like long term is the Web2 and Web3 sides starting to come much closer together in how they operate and how they acquire users. And we've seen this with like some of our partners, like you talked about at the beginning, Warren, that some of them getting, 7-digit download numbers, and some of them starting to bring in like actual legitimate revenue. The sides will come together. And I think for the teams that are solely focused on Web3 growth, it's going to be teams that have a hit app alongside it. So things like what Wildcard are doing, like the Paul and Katie Bettner at Wildcard, they're building out the whole ecosystem that revolves around Wildcard, which includes like esports and viewing and fan immersion and all those things. It's not just going to be a game. The hits are going to come from the teams that have whole ecosystems built around their games.
Yeah, well said. Dan, any trends or any tactics that you've seen projects out there doing that we haven't called out that you think are worth keeping an eye on for scaling in Web3?
Well, I guess I have a comment on the current KOL meta that's happening right now. I'm not a huge fan of what a lot of KOLs are doing at the moment. I think it's fairly extractive. I don't think that there's a lot of sincerity behind the work that they're doing. I think the prices are a little high. I'd love to see a platform come out with a centralized approach, but a decentralized opportunity to get into it as well. Maybe streamline this process for games, manage it from the top, but allow people in a points farming scenario to participate in it and get involved in it. I'd like to kind of see a consolidation in the KOL space in that respect so that we can get a little bit more oversight, a little bit more reining in on some of this pricing and insincerity that's happening right now, especially in the meme coin space outside of project. It's really awful what some of the KOLs are doing at the moment.
Yeah, I think Any emerging type of marketing, at first, it's going to be very top of funnel based. But as the sectors get more mature, we always see that it turns into some way of measurement and some way of quantifying success and failure. And I think to sum up, a lot of these tactics in Web3 are so nascent that this infrastructure doesn't exist. So like there are good actors and there's bad actors out there, and it can make a big difference to, that's why one reason we try to bring people from the space that are experts on our team here at Uptick is like, you only get so many shots for launching a game. And if you work with bad actors, if you spend those funds suboptimally, if you're not measuring stuff, you're going to be setting yourself up for failure. So in summary, guys, I know we're about at time, but thank you all for your insights. There's a lot of Web3 games that are launching. The games are actually built this year, and now they're starting to think about marketing. So hopefully this puts people in the right direction. Any parting thoughts before we sign off for the day?